Short disclaimer, as of now, I haven't decided to quit Overwatch videos. I just wanted to make a video looking through an objective lens at the game's current situation. Hope you watch this video and agree with some of my points, and I want you to help me out by sharing it as much as you can, since I think it needs to reach Blizzard, just like with Seagull's video that he just made recently. Thank you, and enjoy the video. Okay, I don't really know where to begin with this video. You might notice a couple of things, namely, yeah, this video is obviously still scripted, since talking outright and expressing my ideas live is one of my weakest points that I've been working on. If I mess up while recording this, I just won't edit it, because honestly, it's important that while I talk to you, all of you, about something that I think is really important, I think it should be from myself, not really the confident, cheerful face that I usually put on for my audience, which often includes the audio editing that I go through. So no audio editing on this one, and no music because I want no distractions. I just want to clearly talk about Overwatch, where it is at on YouTube, what are my daily experiences with it, and why it's all been happening like this. So I just got done watching Seagull's 20 or so minute video on the state of Overwatch. This really was the breakthrough point for me because, as of yet, I was afraid, honestly. Yeah, I was afraid. Over the last year and a half, I've built up what I've considered so much, and releasing some serious content like this, I was afraid that my audience would look at me with contempt or something like that. Watching Seagull's video, though, I know it takes a lot of confidence to talk seriously about issues in your community that you think really need to be addressed, and if it weren't for his video, I'm not sure I'd ever be able to talk about Overwatch in my channel through an objective lens like he has. So let's start with how Overwatch is currently. Seagull made a ton of really important points that I think are very true. There's this introduction of hard counters that honestly are making the game unfun in a multitude of ways. Recently, I've been trying to push myself back into Overwatch, sort of force myself, if you will, back into the game, because my biggest fear is having you guys, all of you that have supported me this far, that have come from watching my Overwatch videos, just getting up and leaving. You know, my channel from its fundamentals is built on the back of Overwatch. It's built on the news, the new heroes, guides. I mean, this game means so much to me, and the people who have supported me because of my Overwatch videos mean even more to me than the game itself. I mean, for God's sakes, Farah is on my channel banner. She's still the mascot of this channel, though I haven't played her competitively for a while. Even my channel icon, the thing that's supposed to represent me, my channel, everything that you guys know me for, that you've come here for, that hasn't been, various strategy games, is because of Overwatch. The reason I sort of started playing strategy games is because I've noticed a trend where it's been a strong trend that I've noticed, especially in really popular games. One example is, although it's sort of, I don't know if there's a right word to describe it, but the game Minecraft a really long time ago was really popular. I mean, it still is today to a certain degree, but it's lost its charm in various ways according to the community. But essentially, I've witnessed myself the absolute devastation of channels, where no one really wants to watch. No one really wants to watch the old stuff that they've made, their old Minecraft stuff. No one really wants to watch it anymore, and so because that's all they've been known for, they've had no crutch. They've had nothing to fall back on if that content fails. And so I didn't want that to happen to me. So I introduced strategy games on my channel because I wanted to know that if Overwatch burned, crumbled, died, fell to the ground, absolute burning, I'd have at least something. At least something to pick me back up. And strategy as a genre itself is something that you can't really, it can't crash, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I mean, essentially, a game itself can crash, but a genre can't. So that's why I've sort of started shifting a little bit towards strategy games, although I still absolutely love Overwatch. I mean, I even asked a good friend of mine to make my icon for me in the style of Overwatch, and you can see that with it's a self-portrait, not self-portrait, it's a portrait of me holding a Farah helmet. So, I do my best to make interesting content. I do my best to figure out the strategies and concepts that might score me views, a couple of subs, and I don't know, a little bit of clout, so to speak. As Overwatch is, though, and its current presence on YouTube, I just don't know how much longer I can keep making Overwatch videos. As Sequel mentioned, there are only now like 10 Overwatch channels with large audiences that consistently still keep putting out videos, and it gets you thinking, who actually watches Overwatch anymore? Like, different videos, like strategy guides. I mean, everything's basically been done to death to the point where it's just not a popular video content thing anymore. I mean, it just isn't. That's just how it is. That's just how the facts are. I mean, as Seagull mentions, it's hard for the regular person to play comp anymore. People who stream find it hard to play comp, so you can only imagine people who have very little time in their days when they're playing Overwatch. Do they just stop playing comp entirely? Do people just play quick play now? I mean, it's got to the point where if you have maybe an hour or two out of your day that you have left, then you're not gonna want to spend it doing something that you hate, something that makes you frustrated all the time. So I don't know. At this point, I think it's not even the players anymore that are the biggest problems. It's how the game is encouraging toxicity. And, I mean, if you think about it, it really is. It's the exact opposite of what Jeff Kaplan has been trying to fix. I mean, he's been trying to fix things through various reporting mechanics and stuff, but at this point, if the game is breeding toxicity, what are you going to do? You're going to report every player in the game? Are you going to ban every player who plays the game? I mean, at this point, it's become the game's problem and how it's encouraging it, and I'll explain that. So the implementation of non-traditional FPS heroes and the absolute hard counters have turned the game into a big game of rock, paper, scissors. And if someone on your team is choosing rock against paper, you will definitely tell them to switch, or you lose the game. I mean, that's sort of what's turned into. Every game, it's all cut from the same cloth, and the lack of a leaderboard makes it impossible to know how well your teammates are actually doing, so even if they're playing really well on an off-meta pick, you can bet that they'll be blamed for any slight misfortune that occurs. Honestly, I'm sort of sick of it. I used to be a ranked guru. I used to play competitive, in a tournament. I used to play on a team in a tournament of 9 people, with, the 6 mains and the 3 subs. I was one of the main players. And even if we weren't the best, the introduction, specifically of Brigida during the tournament, is where it started to go downhill. We would have a lot of fun. I mean, we didn't make it super far, obviously, but we were getting pretty good. We were really not terrible as a team, in my humble opinion. Now, I won't turn this into a crying over Brig session, because I could go on about her for ages. I think it's more about new low skill floor heroes, noob stompers, whatever you want to call them. Makes it really, really hard to fight them because they either have CC, really easy to target abilities, consistent damage, or generally make life hell for any of the traditional first set of heroes. And although, yeah, Brig got us out of Dive, it can be strongly argued that Dive was just a soft breeze compared to what we've been hit with recently. It's become a game of copycat, rock, paper, scissors, and snowballing, where ultimates have just turned themselves into a game of whoever has more Qs to hit more often wins. This can be seen in the stats for King of the Hill, where winning the first team fight gives you a 68% chance of winning the round afterwards, just because of the ultimate charge you gain from the cleanup. Honestly, it's a bit ridiculous. There's also a change they made a long time ago with losing your ultimate if you've been stunned or died during your cast animation. Honestly, I think that at the time it was a pretty fine implementation, but if you keep adding more goddamn stun heroes, Blizzard, then it curves the ultimate economy so frustratingly hard in favor of the team who has a Doomfist or a Brigida, or basically a Hog, though Hog was never really the subject of my personal issues. And then I'd just like to give a small mention to CCs, which I'd say have almost no place in a game of Overwatch. I'm sorry, but I just have to say it. Adding more CCs to a game where the majority of the times being up close gets a better shot at killing someone is ridiculous. Especially in a game where the objective is moving a payload. Like, thank you for the overtime mechanic. It's a shame that it can't be used because of how many CCs you've sort of been adding recently. And I get it, all these things are usually added individually, and I don't work at Blizzard, so I don't know whether you guys like to think of the game as a whole when you come up with concepts for new abilities or whatever your process is, but I think the addition of Hammond and his incredibly powerful CC that can spread over a whole point I think adding Molten Core in its current state was just the wrong move. And I get you're trying to push for some better balance changes. I know you're looking to make it so Brig can't bash through shields anymore, which, despite the opinion of the majority of the community, I've seen on Reddit, is probably the smartest move that you've made in a while. I might be a little bit biased as a Rhine main, but it's gone further past than, I might be a little bit biased as a Rhine main, but it's gone further past that. I mean, knowing there's an enemy Brig, you become a fortune teller because you already know what will happen in the future. You get stunned and various ultimates that also CC, or you just get bursted down so fast that what's even the point of the barrier if you're not allowed to use it. So that was my spiel on crowd control. Let's talk about events, new heroes, that kind of thing. If we're talking about player base, I can come to a certain conclusion that Blizzard, your game has peaked so far. Keep that so far in mind because it's very bold and italicized on my page. What I mean is, the things that keep players coming back were the new seasonal events and releases of new heroes. Now, here I sit, as the only person I know personally by name and talk to on a regular basis that still plays Overwatch every day. There was a period of time that I cooled down from Overwatch because of how frustrating it is, but also because I was starting to see how alone I became on my journey because I didn't want to upset my audience on YouTube. And although I recognize that 500 subs is almost nothing compared to everyone else that exists, it's sort of become a subjective thing, where, to me, this is all I have on YouTube. 541 or so people, and I'm so afraid of losing what I'd consider about, 350 to 400 of that sub count. Because my friends have lost this connection to Overwatch we all used to have together, I've slowly stopped playing ranked, because that was sort of one of the things that I really like to enjoy with them, and playing it alone has it's lost its charm, I'd say. I've only played maybe 20 or so games at most of the season so far, and I hate this, that I haven't been able to find my way back into ranked, because, when you play ranked, that's the core experience of Overwatch, playing ranked. It's where you understand things the most. It's where you build up your game sense the most. It's where I can create my guides from my own personal experience because I play ranked so often in the past. And the reason why I haven't, made much at all is because you can't make a guide if you've basically lost your touch, your connection with the ranked community. So I've noticed recently that the vast majority of my friends list is offline anytime that I am playing, and trust me, I play every single day, and there's usually not more than 3 people online compared to what it used to be like 20. Now, of course, that's a small sample size, you can't exactly judge the entire player base on that, but the player base is starting to leave. The YouTube creators are moving on to better games, and I'm the worst person at making big decisions, so I want to know, do I cut the rope of Overwatch and stop making videos about it altogether? I've been on this edge of, this game, although I love it, isn't getting the same views that it used to. The video community is starting to sort of abandon it, so should I jump ship, or can we sort of wait it out to see if we can, as a community, find a way to pick it back up into our hearts through some sort of radical change? I made a promise a while ago that I would never stop making Overwatch videos until the game dies. I made that promise publicly in a video that was fairly well viewed. That's not really an expression, but it was one of my more popular ones, and I made that promise publicly, and I've never forgotten it. So my only question now is, what has happened to Overwatch? Has it finally gone to the point where no one would care if I let it go? I'm still not sure yet, clearly, but I wanted to make this video because I want somehow for Blizzard to understand that if the remaining Overwatch content creators make their voices heard in some way, then maybe we can bring positive change and try to start bringing back players into the community. So, I don't really know. I didn't script an outro for this because I was sort of wondering to see where I would stop typing. This is the fastest script I've written, somehow. I suppose it's easier to do when everything sort of comes straight from your heart, not a lot of thinking to do because it's all just flows out of your head. That's probably why the video is in such a jumble in terms of points and where they are and all that stuff. But I think we've gotten to a point in Overwatch where we have to clearly sort of understand, look at the game through an objective lens, look at the community. I mean, the esports section is becoming massive. The esports section is only growing, I think. And so even though people are starting to play the game less, I don't really know how this works, but people are playing the game less and they're watching the esports more, which I think is great. I think it's great to sort of push Overwatch in the direction of becoming a competitive esports game. But I think at some point the esports itself will die if people stop playing the game altogether. So I think that's pretty important. I don't know. These have just sort of been my my 2 cents on the game, where it is right now, how it sort of affects my channel. I already made this disclaimer at the beginning, but I will not be stopping Overwatch videos. It's sort of come down to a little bit slower than normal because, well, you know, personal things, school, all that stuff, that's important to me, so I can't exactly invest the same number of hours that I used to, especially since it's November. Things are starting to pile up a little bit, so I'll continue making Overwatch videos until I've come to my own objective, you know, decision. And right now, that decision is keep playing Overwatch, try to find the good in what's left, and keep making videos on it. So that's what it is right now, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.